Hi everyone, my name's Mike. Welcome to the video. Today we're doing a bit of a comparison. We're taking out the V85 Stelvio Moto Guzzi, and we're doing a comparison with my brother's Moto Guzzi V85 TT. They're the, I suppose for want of a better expression, the Moto Guzzi's big trailies, or adventure bikes as we now call them, and we've seen, there's videos on both bikes out and about. There's lots of them, but I don't think there's many that do a bit of a direct comparison. So the bike we're comparing it with is my brother's, and it's a first generation one, but in terms of riding, I don't think there's a massive amount of difference between the first generation and the second, but it'll certainly give you a good flavour as to where the Stelvio sits in the scheme of things. So yeah, we borrowed the bike, the Stelvio, from A&D Motorcycles in Denby, who are long-time friends, partners with us. So thank you very much to the team there for allowing us to use the bike for the morning. And as usual, we did a lot around North Wales, lovely roads, lovely scenery, so I hope you enjoy that. Difficult to make a decision, but we'll let the video talk to that. I certainly had my preferences, but I think we're all divided as to which we preferred. They're both fantastic bikes, but we'll go through that in the chat at the end. So yes, as I said, thanks to A&D, thanks to John and Dave for being part of the video, and also thanks to you guys for watching and putting up with us on your screens. So yeah, with that, if you think we deserve it, would appreciate a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, because it does help us out. Yeah, with that, on with the show. Okay, so here we go, test riding the Stelvio. So, very comfortable bike. Being a adventure bike, that's exactly what you'd expect it to be. I'm 6 foot, thereabouts, and it's just very, very comfortable. In the same way that a BMW GS is comfortable. You've got plenty of leg room. You're sitting, there's no weight on your wrists. The bar peg position is really nice, and of course it's got that glorious V100 power plant, which is one of my favourite road engines. It's just a lovely, lovely engine. You can hear it popping. We're just about to enter the 20 miles an hour limit, which a lot of places in Wales are plagued with, though they are talking about rescinding those, but I don't know when that'll be. But like most large capacity motorbikes, it doesn't love 20 miles an hour. It'll do it, but it's, yeah, you kind of have to concentrate all the time. But once we're back into the nationals, which is 60 miles an hour, it's utterly in its element. It's very nimble. It's got a fantastic chassis on it. I did notice when I first got on it, first roundabout I tipped into, it was a bit of an odd feeling, but I think that's more to do with me, because it's been a while since I've been on I think it's got a 19-inch front wheel, this bike. So yeah, we get lots of farmers and farm equipment on these roads, so they're all friendly, so it's nice. But as I was saying, after that first feeling, it just feels totally natural, and very happy chucking this around the bends. And being a adventure bike, you could imagine yourself attacking high alpine passes on this thing, and you could also imagine yourself slogging up the the auto routes and motorways and things fully loaded up. So we didn't actually try it 2 up, but I'd imagine it's a superb 2 up machine. But the engine on it is just lovely. I'm a great fan of that V100 engine. Seems to make power everywhere. I know some people say, oh, it's not as powerful as a R1300 GS, but really, do you need any more? This is what, 120 horsepower, absolutely plenty of power, and just a really lovely bike to be on. You've got that fantastic dash in front of you. Modern Moto Guzzis are screwed together so well. There's a feeling of quality about them. There's a like a joy of ownership of these bikes. Moto Guzzis to me have always been one of those, park the bike up and you walk away and look back at it and think, yeah, I really like that. So loved the go on this bike, and I'd like to thank A&D for letting us borrow it, so thanks to the team there. As I said, they're located in North Wales, in Denbigh, and just look at the countryside. It's lovely around here. I don't know the name of this little village, but we stopped before, I think, when we did the test on the V100, we stopped at this church at the Lich Gate there, and the vicar, the lady vicar, arrived while we were doing it, and she was highly interested in the bike, and very accommodating us, welcoming us to use the church as a backdrop for our photography. So not far from getting back to the dealer now, but we're just getting onto a bit of dual carriageway, and what I tried here was putting the bike into 6th gear, getting it into top gear at 30 miles an hour, and there you can hear it, and then I open the tabs and it smoothly, without any issues, picks up speed, and I was most impressed with it until we come to the chat, which you'll see later on, and Dave explained ride by wire to me, and it was nothing to do with my awesome skills on the throttle. It was all taken care of by Mr. Bosch, or whoever made the ECU. So okay, we're moving on to the V85 now. Okay, so we're going on the same route as we did with the Stelvio. I've got quite a lot of saddle time with V85, so I know these bikes really well, and I really like these bikes. They're comfortable, they're got more than sufficient power for the road, they handle really well, they are softer than the Stelvio, and they also suffer from the keeping to the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, though I must admit the first bit of that was probably me, but we're going at 20 now, and it's not the most comfortable, but as we discussed with the Stelvio, I think no big bikes are. But we're back into the Nationals now, and what a delightful bike this is. It's really charming. As I said, it's got more than you'd ever need for the road, and suspension is super compliant. When I first started riding Dave's 3 years ago, I was I thought, oh, this is way too soft for me, because I always like bikes that are quite sporty, but once you get your head around them, these things handle brilliantly. They are soft, but in the same way that, like a Supermoto has quite a lot of suspension travel, but you can really hoot them around the corners. And yeah, I've had a lot of enjoyable miles on the V85. It's about 85 horsepower as opposed to 120, and that sounds a lot, but on the road you never really feel it lacking. You do feel the extra punch with the Stelvio, But what is quite remarkable is how similar they feel. The Stelvio is probably a bit more sporting, but there's a charm about this V85. Hard to put your finger on it. I don't know what it is, but it's just a lovely place to be. You know, you look down, and I know Dave says in chat later on that the clocks have changed on the new ones, but you know, it just looks lovely. Look at that tank, you know, with the Ronald McDonald colours, and the matte black and the red on the thing. They're just a stunning looking bike, and yeah, we love these bikes. I would more than happily have a V85, and you know, it would see me out to the end of my biking days, to be honest. But yeah, and in terms of capabilities, we know all about the capabilities of this bike. You know, Dave's had 2 of these bikes. This is my brother's, and Dave's been to Spain twice. He went to the Picos on his first one, and then we did a Spain-France trip on his later one. He had the Centenario, I think it is, the green one, and John was on this one, and they just perform faultlessly. You know, they lugged the luggage. They were, you know, as I was saying before, you know, attack the gnarly. We went through the Pyrenees, and some of those roads in the Pyrenees are, as a lot of you will know, they're fantastic, twisty, fast, open roads. And the V85 was absolutely in its element. You know, brilliant bike. So, would you be disappointed buying one over a Stelvio? I don't think so. Excuse me. I certainly wouldn't be. I think the Stelvio is a fantastic bike, but I also think the V85 is a fantastic bike. What I'd like to do next is have a go on one of the new ones. So there you go, 2 magnificent bikes. Hi, so we are again at A&D Motorcycles, and today you've got my brother John.
Hi.
And Dave.
Hello.
Who's famous for
What?
what? All your old bikes.
Oh, I see, all my old clunkers.
Yeah, so today what we've been doing
Yeah.
is we've taken the opportunity to take out their V100 Stelvio Moto Guzzi, and we've also taken John's V85 TT out as a way to just compare the two.
Contrast and compare, yeah.
Exactly, and I apologise if you hear motorbike noises because we're at A&D.
Should never apologise for motorbike noises.
No.
So we're outside Sam's Cafe.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and we've just had breakfast at Sam's.
We have.
So that's wonderful, so pop down. Yeah,
And
cool.
the sun's come out, yeah.
And the sun's come out, which is fine. So, what did we all think of the... Oh, do you want to give us a bit of background on the 2 bikes? You're the Moto Guzzi man.
I suppose I am the Moto Guzzi man. Guzzi Dave, people used to call me. So, yeah, I've ridden a V85, I've ridden all the others.
You've owned
Pretty
2,
much.
haven't you?
I've owned 2 V85s, yeah, I just sold one. And the only reason I sold it is because I wasn't using it that much compared to the old clunkers. And what you've got with the V85, I suppose, is a bit more old school, you know, air-cooled, still works well, relatively modern bike, but, you know, in an older idiom. Push rod, air-cooled, with the Stelvio obviously built on the V100 platform, same as the Mandello, and I'm looking at them both now. A little bit taller, tall rounder, a little bit heavier. Hasn't got the active suspension of the S, that isn't an option, but it had the radar feature, didn't
Yeah,
it?
it did.
I can't remember what the acronym is in Guzzi speak.
Yeah,
but
I actually, on a test ride, I overtake a car and the dash starts shouting at me, so I'll show you in my ride.
And I'll just explain that a little bit later on what it does. Yeah. But we all rode both, didn't we? We rode John's V85 and we all rode the Stelvio.
So John's owned his V85 for, what, 2 or 3 years now?
Yeah, probably 3.
Yeah, about 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
We've done...
I actually bought it off Dave's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had
So
a Griso before that, so I've
Yeah.
been Moto Guzzi
since
in my
your
sort of,
rebirth.
rebirth into
Yeah.
motorcycling. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, you
Yeah.
had the Griso, 1100 Griso.
Yeah.
So John did. We all went to Santander, and we rode up through Spain, over the Pyrenees, then all the way up through France. So John knows his V80. You were on your V85.
Yeah, I was on
Yeah,
mine.
yeah,
Yeah,
we had
yeah.
So we know these bikes extremely well.
yeah.
And
And we've all ridden the Mandello before, haven't we? The
Yeah.
V100S.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So there you go.
So what did you think of the Stelvio, Mike?
Okay, so I thought it was excellent bike. I thought it was fantastic. It did my first impression going into the first roundabout. It felt odd with the front wheel.
That is a V100S firing up just then, by the way. Sorry, I interrupted.
Stuart
No, that's
firing
right.
it up, Stuart
Yeah.
ruining
Yeah,
the video.
Stuart, who's another Lemon Drizzle gang
Yeah.
member, has just fired it up and ruined our video.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, so when I first tipped it into that roundabout, it made one of those squeaky bum moments.
right. Just
and-
didn't tip in like you expected.
It didn't tip in like I was expecting to, but I've just come off my
Multistrada.
Mark 1 Multistrada, which is like
Yeah.
suspension.
It's like a supermoto.
It could be that, but I didn't get the same feeling when I rode John's V85.
Okay, yeah.
But within quarter of a mile, that feeling had gone
Yeah,
completely.
yeah.
It just felt really natural. What I did enjoy with it was the comfort. Just lovely. The suspension's plush.
Yeah.
Not as plush as the V85. Handling was really good on it, and that engine has got tons of poke.
Yeah, tons
of poke. It's probably, I would say, about 20% more poke than the V85.
Yeah, which is what it is on paper as well. I mean, rear wheel, you're talking nearly 70 on the V85 with lots of torque, which kind of makes up for that relatively low power. Stelvio, you're talking around 100. So top end, probably a bigger gap.
Yeah.
But I never took it above 5,000,
No,
5,500, the Stelvio. So really, you're riding the mid-range, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I found the characteristics of the Stelvio to be very similar
Yeah,
to
they rode
the
very similar.
V85, very similar. And as you say, the only difference is the actual power.
Yeah.
A lot more torque.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced about some of the gadgets on it.
I know.
The radar, for example.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not really sure whether that's just a fad.
Yeah, it kind of confused
whether
me
it
a
would
bit.
actually serve any purpose.
I didn't find it confusing. I think
Yeah,
you get
but,
just so briefly with the radar, you get a collision warning. You're about to hit something right in front of you on the dash, which we could all question the validity of that. Possibly the more usable bit that you get as standard with it, and all this is standard, is you get a warning light in each wing mirror to warn you there's something potentially coming up behind you in your blind spot, which I think could, on motorways and that, could be. I know, you should look and you should do a lifesaver and all that, but it's there.
The point is, you're never in your comfort zone on a bike.
No, you're not. You always should be
in
observing.
a car, I can see the value of it. But
It
on a
just
bike,
might make you think twice.
You have to be that much more aware on a bike. You have to.
It could make you lazy, I suppose.
could do.
And I
It
think
could do,
that
yeah.
the riding that we do, which is mainly country roads, leisure riding.
Well, certainly what we were doing today.
Yeah, if you were riding like you used to do, you used to use a bike for your
company car.
It may be more useful when you're hacking up and down motorways.
Yeah, and you get tired and
and it's in the rain and all that sort of thing.
I think the real value of the radar is when you get it integrated into the cruise control and you get an adaptive cruise control, which will maintain the distance. But that's an extra chunk of money, don't know how much, on top of what you've already got.
Anyway,
so back to the Stelvio. So what I would say is a couple of things that have been questioned by other online reviewers was the suspension, and you just said how nice it was. It is firmer
what's
than the
been
V8.
questioned?
Some people say, it's harsh and you really need the adaptive suspension. I guess anything compared to the Öhlins interactive, adaptive, whatever you want to call it, on the S or any other bike is going to feel not as sophisticated, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
No, and also we're coming. Like I said, I'm coming from a Ducati.
Which rides like a board.
And we ride a lot of classic bikes.
So it's all relative, isn't it? It's all relative. The other thing I'd say about it is the other thing that's been questioned, certainly by one reviewer, which I thought was strange even at the time, was he was saying the screen was absolutely useless and you couldn't even go touring on it. And we were playing around, weren't we, with the height of the screen, which I think was one of those features, which I haven't come across before, not riding many modern bikes. And I thought that's actually quite a useful
The
feature.
screen was superb.
Yeah, I thought it was
I mean,
great.
I'd sort of started the ride with the screen down,
Yeah.
and then raised it, and it made a huge
Yeah,
difference.
it makes a massive
It was
difference.
Amazing.
We're both relatively short, I guess,
Yeah.
John. I think you're a bit
Yeah.
taller than me.
What I found, because I ride with a Schubert C3, and I found on the lowest setting, above about 60 miles an hour, the screen,
that was Stuart coming to intimidate us.
the visor would come, you know, the
But
wind
try
would
and
blow it
downdraft,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I just did a quick tweak on the
And up it
screen,
comes.
shoop, and it took that wind right away
Yeah,
from me.
I was doing a 70 mile an hour officer along the bypass, and I just held my hand above my helmet, and the airflow was going literally about an inch above
Yeah,
my helmet. And without earplugs, it was incredibly quiet. It was
Yeah.
amazingly good.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's the best screen in the world, but it was really good.
Yeah.
So to say there's no difference between having it low, clean air, or up and air over the top, massive difference.
Yeah, and it was a better performing screen, in my opinion, than on the V100.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a lot smaller, isn't it, on the V100?
Yeah.
So, you know, those are the things that stood out for me. It was comfortable, it works obviously. It's got the Guzzi character. It's got less Guzzi character than, say, a Griso or a 1200 Sport.
Or a V85.
Yeah.
I found
Yes.
below 50, when you can actually hear what's going on. I found riding John's. I thought, I'm you know, this feels home. This
feels like-
is a Moto Guzzi. You know, it's got whatever it is, the valve rustle or
Yeah.
whatever. It's got that characteristic. Whereas the
Mandela?
Stelvio,
Oh, Stelvio.
the Stelvio, a bit less. It's still got the Moto Guzziness, but it's a bit more anodyne.
Yeah,
than-
it is. It is.
than the other
yeah,
one.
anodyne's a good word. It's not bland.
No.
And if you rode it next to, say, an Africa Twin or something like that, you know, because it's a mid-range tall rounder, it would have more character.
Loaded with character. But what I did find with the
There's a
Mandela,
V100 about to start up.
the one that's just starting there, I found that had a lot more Moto Guzzi character than the Stelvio did.
I think that's possibly because it's slightly sportier, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and Guzzis, they're not in ultimate performance terms that competitive, but they are a sporting brand,
Yeah.
you know, and it's got more of that, I suppose. You know, and the Stelvio's more comfy, more insulated, but hasn't quite got as
What
much.
I do find quite a struggle, I already find it a struggle on the V85, is the 20 mile an hour speed limit in Wales.
Yeah.
And Moto Guzzis are not suited to that sort of slow speed riding. 30 was okay. You can
Yeah,
cope
30
with
is
30,
fine, but 20 is...
20 is
And I
a real
imagine
struggle. I found it worse on the Stelvio
Yeah, I
than
did.
Yeah.
I do on the V85.
Yeah,
But,
probably...
but they're both fantastic
So
compared to my
high torque bikes.
Ducati.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
your Ducati's horrendous.
I have to
Yeah.
ride the clutch.
Yeah, I bet
on
you do.
that.
Yeah.
It's
But
awful.
that's a 20-year-old bike, so they should be better.
Yeah.
You know, I know they're up against much more stringent, you know, emission standards.
I did a when I got onto the bypass. I did I put it in top at 30 miles an hour and opened the throttle, and it pulled cleanly.
Well, it will do because it's ride by wire.
and it's lovely.
Yeah, it'll just
It's
manage it.
lovely.
Some of your Ducati, even Ducatis do that nowadays with ride by wire. It's not.
Shows how out of touch I am.
Well, yeah, it's a good job you don't run a motorcycle YouTube channel, Mark.
Oh yeah.
So
Anyway.
explain ride by wire.
So ride by wire means you haven't got a
Yeah.
throttle cable. You've got butterflies in the fuel injector. I think they're single throttle bodies. I think they are. So you've got a butterfly that just controls it. Yeah, your airflow. You know, your throttle. But instead of it being connected to a cable to your twist grip, it's connected to the ECU with a potentiometer in your twist grip, which says, I want full throttle, I want whatever. The engine map sorts out everything. It sorts out how much fuel is injected in, what ignition timing, and in this case, how wide
So
you open
when
the
Mike
throttles.
opened the throttle at 30 miles an hour...
It wasn't opening them, it wasn't going
it
whack.
wouldn't, it wouldn't
I
have-
thought
it would do it
I
generally.
thought, I thought it was my wonderful touch on the throttle.
We all know about your wonderful touch on the throttle.
Anyway, it's the V85 TT got it.
Yeah, V85's ride by wire. It's much more common now with emissions as well, but it means that you can run them really lean, but they're not all horribly snatchy, multi-strada-y around town.
I probably need to buy a new bike, don't I?
You probably do, yeah.
Cool.
But
So
on balance,
Yeah.
I prefer the V100 to the
Yes.
Stelvio. I think
I do too.
if I was going to, which I was seriously considering buying a V100
Yeah.
earlier this year, but for various reasons, personal reasons, I
Yeah.
decided to defer any new
Yeah,
bike
my
purchase.
wife would have made the same decision as yours. Yeah.
Yes.
But what I would say, that's
Well,
not
I
really.
had to pay for my wife to have a new knee.
Yeah.
So
that takes preference.
yeah,
You wanna get your priorities.
Is that a
Yes.
fly-by-wire knee?
yeah.
Kicking your ass.
I'd have the Mandello as well, but it's not a reflection on the Stelvio. It's a reflection of the kind of thing I use bikes for nowadays.
Yeah.
For what I use them for now.
Yeah, so I think, so if I was in the market for a V85 or a Stelvio,
Interesting question.
I think I'd probably go for the V85.
I'd probably go for the Stelvio simply because I've owned two V85s. I really like them, but I'd like to try something new. You know.
Yeah, well, I've not owned one.
And I wouldn't go for either. I'd go for the V100.
Yeah.
Ah, well, yeah,
Stay
okay,
with-
but that was just comparing one
Yeah.
trailer with another.
The reason for my thinking is the V85 TT is a fantastic bike. The Stelvio is slightly more fantastic,
Yes.
but what it misses in, what it gains in that fantastic ability, I do like the charm.
Yeah.
And also I think the V85 is a nicer place to be.
The Guzzi charm.
Yeah, the Guzzi, and it's and I don't know whether it's the dash. They both have great dashes on, but there's just something about the V85. You're sitting there and looking.
Well, the modern,
whether it's the colours,
the latest generation of V85s have got exactly the
Oh,
same
got the
dash
same
as the
dash.
Stelvio
Oh, okay.
anyway.
All right.
So I tend to agree. I, like you commented earlier, the Stelvio is a nice looking bike, especially for a tall rounder, which don't tend to be the most gorgeous bikes around. Sorry, all you tall rounder owners. But the V85's prettier and sort of just more
You look
charming.
at the side-by-side photos that we took by the
Yeah.
farmhouse, and John's Ronald McDonald bike knocks the socks off.
But that's
you know,
also a reflection of our age and our
Yeah.
kind of what we grew up with, the kind of bikes. It's a, you know, the V85 is unashamedly a retro.
It is.
To
It
some
is, yeah,
extent.
that's what I like
The
about
Stelvio isn't retro, and that's good
Yeah.
in that Guzzi are getting away from just making charming retro bikes. You know, they're making competitive modern bikes, which it clearly is, patently is.
There's
So,
a rare bike. That's a
RC8,
RC8 KTM sport bike.
nice.
One
Like the one I burnt off with Laverda.
at the Isle of Man on your, how old's your Laverda?
Let's not go
40-year-old
there.
Laverda.
Let's not get sidetracked.
Okay, well, I reckon we
Yeah.
wind it up there.
You
But I
can
mean,
wrap this up, yeah.
I'm sat here looking at that Stelvio, and you know, it's
It's
very,
nice.
very, very nice.
It is lovely. All right, thank you for watching.
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Okay, thank you.
Stay safe.
See you soon.